Tayo po'y magpapatuloy sa huling talakayan about the true meaning of life. Sinabi nga po sa Proverbs chapter 15 verses 16 to 17. Better a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil. Better a meal of vegetables where there is love than a fattened calf with hatred. Meaning to say, it is better to have a simple lifestyle than to have wealth with a lot of conflict in the home. Mahirap magtamasa ng kasaganaan kung hindi rin to makatutulong sa iba at kung pang sarili lamang. There was once a generous and benevolent landowner who wanted to share his vast tracts of land to his trusted tenant. He made a deal with some that he would plow his hacienda from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. Napaka-generous itong may-ari ng lupa. Sinabihan niya sa isang tenant niya na, sige, magbungkal ka ng lupa. Kung ano mabungkal mo, okay? Iyon na. Whatever land he could plow within that period, 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening, would be yours. So magandang balita ito dito sa farmer. The farmer was overjoyed. Sabi niya, this is now my opportunity to own limitless hectares of land. He conditioned himself physically by taking multivitamins so that when the day came, he was fit and strong. At the appointed time, he plunged into work. Dumating na yung oras. He plowed here and there and did not bother to take a rest. Sayang yung ititigil niyang break na 10 minutes. Malayo na mararating nun. He refused to take a break to eat so he would not waste time. He doubled his effort as he saw the sun setting. Mag-aalas 6 ng gabi. Kaya humirit pa siya. Nearing the deadline. The farmer gave out the last spurt of his strength. Hinirit niya ng gusto nung malapit na mag-alas 6. But in so doing, he collapsed. He collapsed and died of heart attack. Oh, my God. Poor man. All the tracts of land he plowed, he could not take along with him to the next life. And all he got was 6 feet below the ground. Aren't we like that man? Aren't we like the farmer? We work so hard sometimes, unmindful of taking a break, and all the material things we labor for, we won't take along with us in the next life. Minsan nag-usap po si life at si death. Nag-usap si life at si death. Sabi ni life kay death, life asked death, why do people love me but hate you? Sabi ni life kay death, why do people love me, life, but hate you, death? Death responded. Sumagot siya. Because you are a beautiful lie and I am a painful truth. Think about that, brothers and sisters. I remember a story of a rich dad who took his son on a trip to a village. He wanted his son to see how poor people are. He wanted to show his son how poor someone can be. So, the father and son spent time on the farm of a poor family. After spending some 2 days weekend, on a weekend, sa poor family, on the way to home, pauwi na sila, nagdadrive yung father. Sabi nung tatay sa anak, Did you see how poor they are? What did you learn? And the son said, we have one dog. They have 4. We have a swimming pool, Daddy. They have rivers. We have lanterns at night, Dad. They have stars. We buy foods. They grow theirs. We have walls to protect us. They have friends to protect them. We have encyclopedias. They have a Bible. And the son said to his dad, thanks, Dad, for showing me how poor we are. My dear sisters and brothers in Christ, what is the moral lesson there? It is not about money that makes us rich. It's about simplicity. Simplicity of having God in our lives. And I would like to share with you my last story before we finally end. And this last story is entitled, Change Your Thinking. Will you repeat that? Sa mga nanonood, change your thinking. The story goes this way. There were 2 men, both seriously ill. These 2 men occupied the same hospital room. Magkasama po sila sa kwarto sa ospital. Dalawa sila sa room. One man, yung isang lalaki, was allowed to sit up in his bed for an hour each afternoon to help drain the fluid from his lungs. Kaya pinauupo siya tuwing hapon. Now, his bed was next to the room's only window. Isa lang naman ang bintana dun eh. Tabing bintana siya. Now, the other man had to spend all his time flat on his back. Lagi siya nakahiga. Now, these 2 men talk for hours on end. Siyempre, dalawa lang sila, kaya lagi sila nagkukwentuhan, nag-uusap. They spoke of their wives and families, their homes, their jobs, their involvement in the military service, where they had been on vacation. Every afternoon, when the man in the bed by the window could sit up, he would pass the time by describing to his roommate all the things he could see outside the window. Now, the man in the other bed began to live for those 1-hour periods where his world would be broadened and enlivened by all the activity and color of the world outside. Kinukwentuhan siya kung ano nakikita ng kaibigan niya sa bintana. Doon umiikot ang mundo ng isa nando sa kabila. At sabi ng lalaki sa tabing bintana, the window overlooked a park with a lovely lake. Ducks and swans played on the water while children sailed their model boats. Naglalaro ng mga bangka yung mga bata doon sa lake. There were young lovers walk arm in arm, magka-holding hands, amidst flowers of every color, and a fine view of the city skyline could be seen in the distance. As the man by the window described all this in exquisite details, the man on the other side of the room would close his eyes and imagine this picturesque scene. One warm afternoon, the man by the window described a parade passing by. May parada po na dumadaan. Although the other man could not hear the band, he could see it in his mind's eye as the gentleman by the window portrayed it with descriptive words. Days, weeks, months passed. Isang umaga, the day the nurse arrived to bring water for their baths, pupunasan sila, only to find the lifeless body of the man by the window who had died peacefully in his sleep. Namatay po yung lalaki sa tabing bintana sa kanyang pagtulog. The nurse was saddened. Nalungkot po yung nurse and called the hospital attendants to take the body away. As soon as it seemed appropriate, the other man asked if he could be moved next to the window. So, ni-request naman niya ngayon kung pwede, siya naman ang ilagay doon sa bintana kasi wala na yung kaibigan niya. Now, the nurse was happy to make the switch. Sabi niya, no problem. Sige po. Tatawagin ko yung mga attendant at isi-switch ko kayo doon sa may tabing bintana. Doon na ho kayo. And after making sure that he was comfortable, she left him alone. Iniwan siya. Now, slowly, painfully, he propped himself up on one elbow to take his first look at the real world outside. He strained too slowly, turned to look out the window besides the bed. It faced a blank wall. Gulat siya. Pader! Wala yung dinescribe nung kaibigan niya na lake. Pader! Sabi niya, paano nangyari to? Ang daming dinescribe nung kaibigan kong namatay, tapos ngayong pader. Tinawag yung nurse. Now the man asked the nurse, what could have compelled his deceased roommate who had described such wonderful things outside this window? Ulitin ko po. The man asked the nurse what could have compelled his deceased roommate who had described such wonderful things outside this window. And the nurse responded, Sir, your deceased friend, yung kaibigan niyo pong namatay, hindi niyo ba alam? Bulag. And could not even see the wall. Who? Hindi nga ho makita yung pader. Bulag siya. And the nurse said, perhaps he just wanted to encourage you. Oh. He just wanted to encourage you. Brothers and sisters in Christ, there is a tremendous happiness in making others happy, despite our own situations. Ulitin ko po. There is a tremendous happiness in making others happy, despite our own situations. Shared grief is half the sorrow. Shared grief is half the sorrow. But happiness, when shared, is doubled. Ulitin ko po. Shared grief is half the sorrow. But happiness, when shared, is doubled. My dear sisters and brothers in Christ, if you want to feel rich, just count all the things you have that money can't buy. Pagpalain nawa tayo ng poong may kapal.